Hi, folks. You're with Tacitus today at your Pushback channel, and thank you for joining this live stream. In this essay, I'm going to do a bit of a news roundup. I had a number of subjects, and none of them seemed to be sort of more than maybe a couple of minutes on a video, and I thought, well, put it out to say 5 minutes, and thus justify an individual video, I'd need to script it and put the time into that. So. And I thought, no, well, why don't I just put all these things into one video? So here goes. Here's a roundup, so a number of subjects. And the first subject was just going through some government documents that have been released here in Australia, where the government is budgeting for how many people from what races and what genders and so on will have jobs in the Australian economy. Now, I don't think there's anything more communist or socialist than directly budgeting, because that's what the communists did in, say, the Soviet Union. So what the government's doing is saying, well, we want, for example, and I haven't got the numbers actually in front of me here, but 81% of women need to be working, and of these, this many will be in this profession, that many will be in another profession. We want 50% rocket scientists as women. Half of those women must be non-white, and so they're down to that level of budgeting. Now, is there anything that in a market economy could be less organic and less natural? So clearly, we're not being told, but clearly the idea that this is, or any Western economy is a market economy, is already laughable. There may be some minor sectors where you get low profit business that the big guys don't want, two corner stores competing desperately to make a buck. You might get competition there, but you don't really get competition anywhere else now in the Western economies. And the sort of competition that we see is organized, orchestrated, stage managed, and like a magician pulling a rabbit out of the hat or something. It's done that way to give people the illusion that there is market forces at work, and there clearly isn't. Far from it. And when you're down to budgeting, what gender, how many of what gender, and how many what race will have what jobs and where, and in what sectors of the economy, it ain't market forces. And I'm surprised the media didn't jump all over this. Even the right-wing media or the business websites and the business journals haven't touched it, which I found remarkable, meaning they've decided at the top level this is not a story, or we don't want to tell the people, or is it like when you have gangs of black youths running riot and looting places and beating people up, that the media don't cover it? It's just not mentioned. It's just quietly forgotten about. So I'm assuming this sort of thing's falling into the same category, where given that the idea of a capitalist economy is being dismantled at a rate of knots. So it's only legal now for the elites to own anything, and outside of that, your ownership of for the people who are not the elites, your ownership of anything is already illegitimate, and they're just waiting for the opportunity to take it off you or take it from you. So your house, well, it's not put together well enough for climate change regulations, or you've got too much space, you damn fascist. And in the same manner that when an invading army would come into town in the the medieval days or in days gone by, the government would billet people. So they'd say, okay, well, you've got X amount of bedrooms in your house, so we're going to billet, that is, place 5 soldiers in your house, and you have to give them a place to sleep, and you have to feed them. And that's just how. Now, they may give you some pittance to cover it, but in reality, it was a cost that the local population had to bear and look after the invading soldiers. In some respects, if you were good to the soldiers, looked after them and didn't give them grief and gave them nice meals, they would make sure in turn you weren't bothered by other soldiers. So it became almost a protection racket. But I think that's how it's going to be very, very soon in the Western world. The government will allocate, hey, you got too many bedrooms, buddy. There's only 3 of you, so you're allowed a maximum of 2 bedrooms or 1 bedroom, and someone's got the lounge room's going to have to double as a bedroom, or something, that sort of thing. I think that's going to be very, very soon. That's how it's going to be. But I thought that was amazing. The government's actually budgeting. Now, they're also budgeting in other areas. They're budgeting and say how many students who start high school must go through university. And so things are adjusted and pass levels lowered, or dispensations given to black lesbians, all this sort of thing. So they're doing all this stuff on the periphery, all of which is subduing or killing off market forces and any sort of form of merit. And market forces is largely a form of merit. Then they're killing all that off in order to get their budgeted outcomes, which again is what the Soviets did, and it failed horribly in all those communist economies. So why we'd be going down that path in the West here is quite beyond me, if the intention wasn't to deaden and kill off the economy, which it may very well be. Another one is the government, and you see this sort of often, that a senior politician will get up and say, it's terrible that the straight white men are the majority of science graduates going to university. Absolutely terrible. It just shows how many fucking damn Nazis we've got around the place. We have to change that for equity, it's equity. Hey, for equity. And then a couple of weeks later, there's a national science prize giving ceremony or alleged competition. And wouldn't you know it, it's all girls win it. Just so soon after that politician made that. Wow. So all girls, so only girls get these science prizes. And guess what? Half of them are non-white. Oh, double wow. That just proves how not fascist Nazi that the Australia's become now, giving out those science prizes like that. Isn't that incredible? The foresight this politician has. The same politician is able to have the same canny ability to buy real estate just before it's rezoned, and so he can sell it for 10 times what he paid for it. I mean, that is a gift. That is a fucking gift. So not only that, he can prognosticate into the future, make Groundhog Day look like the groundhog in Groundhog Day look like a beginner. He can also tell in the future who's going to win, allegedly, purely merit-based science prizes. And wouldn't you know it, his dream of an all-women cast winning the prizes, or young women cast winning these science prizes, comes off. And it just holds back the tide of those damn straight white fascist males that keep winning these prizes. So just looking at the among others, the left-wing journals, the Guardian newspaper and those sorts of journals, they take the position that the world is awash and totally under the control of damn fascist Nazis at every level, and only the holding, it's only a few stunning and brave gay lesbian journalists that are holding back the tide of these Nazi fascists that are just coming over the wall in massive numbers. And one article, for example, is criticising the Australian government, also the British government. So the British government that is allowing every British institution to be taken over and attacking white people. Every school is teaching hatred of white people and British history and white history. And there's a green agenda that's absolutely tearing the economy to pieces. Illegal immigration, brown and black illegal immigration, the third world is just out of control. The amount of black and brown people given visas to move to England that can't speak a lick of English and have got nothing to contribute and are just straight out parasite. All that sort of stuff's going on with the so-called conservative Tory government. But does that mean that they're good globalists? Not at all. They're damn fascist Nazis. They're just the hard right, far right, extreme right. Why are they extreme right? Because they're not quite committed enough to climate change. Because what they might do, because of the shortage of gas coming out of Russia and all the thing, what the Tory government might do is just mine some more coal, or maybe do some more gas exploration, something like that, to try and just lower the price and make it out so that people don't suffer. But is that I mean, they're elected representatives of the people who are trying to help the people out not suffering. Isn't that like a good thing, what they're elected to do? No, it's not. They're damn fucking fascist Nazis who are limp-wristed on the green agenda. We're going to die in fucking 10 years, less than 10 years, unless we do something today. And if people have to suffer, if people have to die from the cold, grannies have to die, then so be it, because we've got a higher cause. We've got an ideological cause. And those damn right fascist Nazis, they're far of the far right. Now, you couldn't get a more absurd analysis and description of the Tory government in England. They're about as globalist, and if you can distinguish them from the Labor Party's platform, maybe the Labor Party would have built a few more transgender bathrooms, perhaps. But if you can detect a difference between them in the policies they've pursued, the mass immigration, turning every institution against white people, allowing the school system to be turned into a massive indoctrination program to make white kids hate their own country and culture and history and that sort of thing. I can't see any difference between them but yet the left-wing magazines would have us believe that the Tory party is made up of Hitler clones that are just imposing unspeakable wickedness and evil on the rest of us. And it's hard to imagine such insanity could pass as newspaper sort of reporting. But there you go. There's something the United States Federal Reserve head Janet Yellen, was she the Fed or was she the Federal Treasury Secretary? Anyway, Janet Yellen, she's saying that because of the Russian stuff and because things are going a little lukewarm with China, that America and other Western countries should look at what they call, instead of offshoring jobs and factories and that sort of thing, they should look at friendshoring. Now, the third world countries, like India, which is a fucking basket case, they go into a panic over this because India's wealth that it's accumulated the last 20 odd years is dependent completely on globalization. I mean, if they had to dig themselves out of the financial shithole the country's been in for forever, then they just couldn't do it. So they rely so heavily on offshoring that it's just not funny. But so they panic at the thought of this. But friendshoring is what was really happening in the Cold War, where the advanced Western economies would effectively invest in each other. And there was some third world investment, but it was fairly limited and I thought rather ineffective, particularly where, say, Africa was concerned. Worked rather better in parts of Asia. South Korea is a good example, and Taiwan and so on. But this friendshoring is to only invest in countries that have similar systems of government, similar standards of living, similar cost of living, that sort of thing. So all investing in each other. Now, I happen to think that's a good thing because market competition between countries where you've got similar cost of living, similar legal systems, all that sort of stuff, similar government type structures. Competition there really does mean that you start to specialize in things you're good at and your natural ability. So that sort of specialization actually works quite well, I believe, and I've seen it up close, works quite well in again, those similar economies. But it doesn't work well when a first world economy tries to offshore to a third world economy where the wages are 1/20th. They're only there for the cheap wages and the fact that the pollution standards are much lower and that sort of thing. So, I don't think it works. It works between poor countries trading and each other, but then they tend not to build the wealth up. There's a reason they're poor. It's not because they're smart or they've got great organizational development or great technology. They're poor because they're fucking hopeless at all that. So this idea of friendshoring, I'm not sure what it means. And given the globalization program that all the Western economies are being sort of forced to follow, then I don't know what friendshoring is really going to mean in that context. It could be code speak for doing business and doing business with everyone but Russia, to try and force Putin and those sort of guys into untenable situations. So I'd imagine that's probably what they mean, but I don't know. But if they mean a return to market competition with economies of similar structure, such as Australia, the United States, Britain, Germany, that sort of thing, then I think it'll work very well, and it'll start making the West wealthy again. So I hope that's what they do mean, but I don't think it is what they're going to mean there. Well, it's got a couple of other here I want to cover. I've done that one. Friendshoring. No, actually, that's it. I've covered those subjects. So I've done the bit there. You've been with Tacitus today, and thank you for listening.